Okay, guys, that's our timer. Everybody go ahead and head back to your seats, please. Jamie's got some good walking music on for us. No, we'll send you guys to do that.
Do it later because I'm really nervous about what my feedback's going to be. Yeah, I'm like, you guys.
Okay, walking back to the tables, friends. Walking back.
Should do one?
Yeah.
One enough? They're not quite getting at it, then they're going to have to notice this themselves. Sure.
The other thing Christine mentioned.
Okay. Oh, okay. So we're going to go back to this.
That we're going to academic example throughout the next few days,
Okay,
so they'll
that's
see their
right,
feedback.
that's right.
Okay, we're gonna model for you. What we're going to do for you right now is we want to go through one of them. First of all, let me assure you, you're going to keep going back to this plan today and tomorrow, so you will get your feedback that people have given you, because that's crucial that you understand what that feedback is. But what we want to do right now is model for you what we think is really important, and that's the alignment piece, because we don't need to go into any further in the stages unless we're aligned in stage one. Okay, so I just chose one. I had worked with this group just a little bit, so I chose one that I was kind of familiar with. Balance impacts wellness is the enduring understanding. I'm going to read through each of them, and all I'm going to do is ask for your feedback in 1 second. Let's see. How does balance impact your to what extent does balance impact your social, emotional, and physical wellness? And their other question is, why prioritize? And then there are 3 outcomes. Students will collaboratively create wellness plans. Number 2, students will document evidence of implementation in a wellness journal to refine and reflect on the original wellness plan. And number 3, students will publish a wellness guide for the community. Okay. Students will publish a wellness guide for the community. Some feedback, general feedback first, and then we'll go through and check the alignment. General feedback. Balance impacts wellness is the enduring understanding. Did any of you review this one? Give some feedback on it? I see sticky notes, so somebody did. Oh, yes.
The outcomes are. I don't need a mic.
She has to capture on the video.
I think the outcomes might be activities for assessment.
Oh, great, good job. Okay, we're going to get to that in just a second. Anything else before we align? Okay, I'm going to jump into alignment. When you have a comment, please comment, that we welcome that. Okay, so balance impacts wellness. I start with my enduring understanding. The first thing I go to right after that is my essential question. To what extent does balance impact your social, emotional, and physical wellness? Do you see an alignment between that question and the enduring understanding? And if so, how do you check for alignment in your minds?
Repetition of the same vocabulary.
And think about this. I had some feedback earlier that I thought was interesting when we asked you guys to do the alignment yourselves. And someone said, I almost feel like I'm doing a fill in the blank, where I'm just kind of finding the terminology that matches. I'm not really having to process it. But think about it, guys. your end audience are students, and we want it to be very obvious to students the connection between the enduring understanding and the essential question. So I think that's exactly right. If you can use the repetition of vocabulary, it's very blatantly obvious to the student the connection. So yes, do we see balance in there? We sure do. To what extent does balance impact your social, emotional, and physical wellness? We also have wellness in there. So direct alignment.
I'm going to circle some words here. Christy's doing a great job. So, balance, wellness. We go down here, we have balance.
And
Where's the
wellness.
other question? Oh, wellness. Okay, the other thing I want to point out, social, emotional, physical. Though, if you are going to ask a question about those, where do they also need to appear? It doesn't have to necessarily be here because this is global, but where should they be? In the outcomes. So if you're
Exactly.
asking questions, because they're essential, pieces of those questions should be in your outcomes. Do we see anything about social, emotional in the outcome? Now, maybe it's implied, but this is for kids. So my suggestion is if you want this in here, it better show up somewhere down there.
And Dana made a comment a minute ago when somebody was asking about the number of enduring understandings. I thought this was a great point. She said start with one, because remember, if you have more than one enduring understanding, you still have to assess. Every enduring understanding you have to it has to be assessed in some capacity. And when we tell our teachers, and when teachers think, oh my goodness, am I assessing it? That they might start scaling them back. So just remember, keep that in mind. I thought that was a great point. The next question is, why prioritize? In itself, that's the question. Now, does prioritization have anything to do with balance and wellness? Okay, so do we see the connection? Is there alignment there? Okay, say it again.
I'm just thinking if you said something about how does prioritizing keep balance instead, the wording changes a little bit and then it aligns a little bit more clearly.
Does that make sense? So just tweaking that one just a little bit. Simple questions. Remember, your essential questions need to be thought-provoking. They don't need to have a right or wrong answer, and they really need to cause the kids to inquire more. Why prioritize? That is an inquiry type question, but giving it just a little bit of tweaking really brings that alignment back into place. Okay?
I will say in all the years that I've done this, for over 10 years, this is the number one thing that does not happen, is the alignment. And that is critical in education. So within the stage and among the stages, alignment is huge. And I know sometimes we feel like we're filling in the blank, but as a beginner, I think it's very helpful to be overt. Now, as you go along, Dr. Fagan doesn't have the same exact wording. Like, I don't care on your enduring understanding if you want to use a synonym, but we better not be using synonyms or different verbiage from outcomes to assessments, because you cannot change the rigor of what you're asking in the outcome and testing it at a different level in your assessment. So if you want to use synonyms here, great, but keep in mind the audience is the student. The more synonyms you use, the more confusing they will be, okay? So again, prioritization and these three things, emotional, physical, what else am I missing? Social. Should appear down here. Now maybe that it was intended to be in the wellness plan, but that has to be overt to the kids, or they won't put it in there. Yeah.
Question about the wellness plan piece. If that's coming into an activity, would it be better for the outcome to say more like participants will evaluate their social wellness. They will analyze their physical wellness. Then we go to stage 2 and say through a plan.
Yes.
Or through a
You're absolutely right. And this is what I love about backwards planning. We love stage 3. We cannot wait to get to stage 3. And you will find stage 3 popping up in all stages because we love it. That's our favorite part. And I'm telling you, when you get to stage 3, this room will be buzzing because people are like, oh, I just have these great ideas. And see, this is what happens. Stage 3 starts popping up.
Well, and I'm going to point something out. I think when I was working with this group, I said, okay, now what do you want them to get out of doing the wellness plan? We've stated what they're doing here. They're creating something, yes, but what are they going to do with it? And that's where if we brought balance back into this, they're creating the wellness plan to bring to light the need for balance in their life. To something, you want to take it, that's that transferability piece. Why are they doing it? And that's what ties it back to the enduring understanding. It's the why.
This goes with Julie's, because I noticed on ours too, our outcomes were more assessment activities, and I think it's because we were trying so hard to get the 4 C's and get that high level of create, and it's kind of hard to put that create in there without making it kind of an activity.
Well,
Does that make
but
sense?
keep in mind, create on Bloom's, and I know it's misleading, involves creativity. So it's not that they always have to create a plan, create this, but how can they continue to develop their creativity at a high level?
Okay.
And sometimes it might be helpful too to go to do we have the rubrics posted? To go to those 4C rubrics just to see what they think of as high levels for creativity, and that might give people some more ideas. Because I know, and it's difficult, every time we try, Jamie and I were infusing the 4Cs, we kept saying, create this, create that, and so we needed to go back to the 4Cs rubric.
And one more thought our group had, when you're thinking about that enduring understanding, balance impacts wellness, we were talking about, can that be transferred to all subjects, or is that wellness make it more specific to health? Like, how would you transfer that to math? And
I think
I
Jamie
think
has
the
a
big
comment.
ideas come into play here.
Balance creates harmony. Could transfer to math and science and writing, just by changing it to wellness to harmony.
And keep in mind, enduring understandings don't have to just be 3 words long.
Jamie.
Jamie is addicted to 3, if you can't tell.
Oh yeah, I did 3 again.
Yeah, you did. But are there any questions about the alignment piece? So not to pick on this group at all. I mean, this is
Great
a
work.
great first step.
Great work.
But make sure, I always call it bringing the arrows down, that you can see the alignment as you work through each stage, and then you'll see when we go to stage 2, aligning the stages. That gets even more difficult.
We just want to go back to the original EU we had, which was balance is essential, because it did have the cross-disciplinary potential, but then we got feedback on that maybe it was too fact-based, so that's how we got to the wellness part. And you're right, when we looped back, we lost sight of the interdisciplinary connection, but we're just curious about the original statement.
Balance is essential, I think, is a good piece. And I know Holly indicated that number 8 on the test of 10 was confusing to people about the misconception. I'm not going to get it worded correctly. But an enduring understanding should be open to having some misconceptions. That doesn't mean we want to teach kids to have misconceptions, but it's something I could look at and go, well, I'm wondering if it means this. And then through my learning, I understand the understanding. But if you're telling me balance is essential, you've basically told me that, yes, it is essential. So to make it more ambiguous is the advice I'd give you. Does that make sense?
Again, balance, I'm sorry, what was Jamie's again?
I would even push Jamie's, too.
I would say too, because I would say that's
Yeah.
as judgment laden as the other, in my
Uh-huh. Yep.
Tiffany sees it a different way.
I just forgot what I said. Balance impacts outcomes, because then you could think both negatively and positively, because if you lack balance, I would certainly argue that that can often cause chaos and the vice versa. So if you have balance impacts outcomes, it's a little bit more, I love these enduring understandings.
I want to point out that, did you see what just happened between lots of minds? That's why this is a collaborative process. And even the 3 units that have mine, you saw how they were evolving, and they're not there yet. I want us to be okay with not being right. That we're okay that we're evolving.
And I was going to point out something that group, I originally, when I was telling them that I thought it sounded factual, a lot of times when we put the word, just the verb is, it's almost like they have to accept it, like Dana was saying. We don't want to necessarily have to accept it, okay? But I said balance impacts productivity. And I really like the lens they had, the unbiased lens of, you know what, Christy, we think productivity in America is a great thing, but there's some places that productivity is not the key focus of their culture. So they were really using that non-biased lens, and I thought that was important too.
One other alignment piece, just kind of a hint that I think helps me check for alignment within my plans when I create these. I write my enduring understandings and essential questions in pairs, and I know that you don't have to do it that way. Sometimes your essential questions may address more than one enduring understanding, but it really allows me to check for alignment that way by writing them kind of in groups, and the same thing with my big ideas and my outcomes. Jamie, I've seen when she writes hers, she color codes everything, so this enduring understanding is blue. The essential questions that line up to that one are blue. The big ideas that align up to that, you know what I mean? She aligns everything via color code, so it's just, and in threes. So it's just another idea of a way that you can constantly check your alignment within things is to color code things. Or I've seen Liz Walhoff label, put the enduring understanding next to her big ideas. So she, you know what I mean? So she's checking alignment all the way up, so.
The one last thing I want to say too, there is no one right answer. We just are giving you feedback to constantly look at it. Can we make it better? We can always make it better. I did a backwards plan for backwards plan training, sent it to Dr. Fagan. I got plenty of feedback, and I've been doing this a long time. So, but it was something that we were trying to morph a little bit. So I'm telling you, I've had a lot of experience with it, and I still have to go back and look at things and say, you know what, I didn't align that. I totally lost sight of where I was going. So I just want to tell you, there is no one right answer, and there's no 20 enduring understandings in the world. If somebody wants to go Google that, I know I've heard that rumor that, we can just go Google. There's 20 that'll only exist. That's not the case. These are for you and your students. And how can you help your students understand a more global connection between what you're teaching to the real world? So I don't want people to think, oh, is this right or is this wrong? It's not. These are for your kids and for you, okay?
So before moving on, there are two concerns that I've heard out and about that I want to address. Number one, your feedback that is on your plans. Right now, you guys will be developing a stage 2 for your plans, so you'll get a chance to see that feedback at that point in time. So there's that one. The second one is holy cow, we've been spending all day on stage 1, right? This is a lot of time. It kind of seems like this is sort of the whole ball of wax. That's because it's so vital that you lay out that stage 1 is correct and aligned before moving on to 2 and 3. So stage 2 and 3 are coming. We're just spending a bigger chunk of time here in stage 1 because it is so important. Okay. All right, guys. So the next thing that we want to do is we want in Edmodo, can you everybody pop back into Edmodo really quickly? We want to get some feedback about how things are going so far for you, just to see how we're doing here. So this is some formative feedback for us. In Edmodo, Bob's going to post a poll, and we need to have you respond to that poll with your feeling about your journey today. So you would respond to that first one. I know and can teach stage 1. If you feel like, yeah, I know this so well that I could teach this to other people at this level of depth. You could explain stage 1 kind of at this level. Stage 2 is I understand stage 1, but I need some more support. And then the third one is, are you kidding me? You want me to teach what? So go ahead and Edmodo. We'll give you guys a second to respond to the poll. We'll get some numbers. Oh, make sure that you refresh too, because it may not show up unless you refresh your screen, because Bob just put it up there. No threes?
No threes.
Hooray, hooray.
25 to 8 right now. 27 to 8.
Okay, so moving forward, we've done up to this point a stage 1 outside of an academic content area. I know that term activity kind of grabbed people the wrong way because it seems like lower level. It was kind of icky. We should have just said non-academic content area. It would have been a better way to word it. So apologies for that. We've done that. Now we want to take you guys to the next level since you know the structure and the pieces and the parts and how they should align. What we're going to ask you guys to do is to create a stage 1 for your, if you're a classroom focused person, you can do one for kids or for your building in either the academic content area of your choice, math, reading, literacy, or professional development, if that's more of the hat that you wear, which is going to be a lot of you guys, right? of your choice. So now you're going to create your own applicable to whatever it is that you do, okay? We want to make sure that you guys include all of the stage 1 components, enduring understandings, essential questions, big ideas, and outcomes that are written at that higher level, right? Again, check the rigor and relevance of your outcomes. Make sure that the top of Bloom's, and also that alignment piece. We'll add that in there. Check closely for the alignment within stage 1. This is going to be what we're going to have you guys submit to us to get credit for the course. We're going to check it, give you feedback. I can't tell you guys how important the feedback is on these plans. Like, I really didn't understand what I didn't know until I had other people look at them and give me feedback on how to tweak them or make them better. So part of the idea with you guys creating them and us being able to give you feedback is that we're able to help you grow, right? And it helps us grow, to be quite honest, to be able to do that as well. So the plans will not be submitted to us until January 11th, so there's a long period of time. And we will get that feedback back to you within a month on your plan. As suggested before, we want you to look forward to this spring, something that you haven't done yet. We don't want to be in danger of taking something out and stuffing it into the boxes, right? So something that you haven't taught yet, whether it's professional development or something within a content area. And you're going to work on developing just stage 1 for that content piece, okay? Yeah, I was going to go back to that now too. So if you were a person that responded a 1 on the poll, that you can do this, no problem, I got it, I could teach it. We're encouraging you guys to work independently because you've got the basics, you can handle this, no problem. If you're a 2, we would ask that you work with the support of a small group, maybe somebody else that teaches in the same, or works in the same feeder, or is gonna provide similar professional development, and you can work together, or with the help of one of us from either World Class or PD. Okay, we can come around and help. Nobody was a 3, is that right? Do we have any 3s? Okay, if you're the 3 person, we're not gonna ask you to raise your hand and stand up and dance a jig or anything. That's why it's at Edmodo, it's totally anonymous. Just whenever you get a second in the next 5 minutes, grab myself or Christy or Holly, the stage 1 folks, and we will sit with you and go through this process together with you one-on-one. Okay? Yeah, you don't have to come find us right now, in a couple minutes. All right. We have a timeline of about 30 minutes. We're already running over into stage 2's time right now because we're doing great stuff, right? You can't rush good things. I think I think you guys 30 or 20? Can we do this in 20? Let's split it. We'll do a room check at 20 and see how people are doing. So just as a note, you guys can use a couple of templates. If the template thing kind of makes you twitch, like you don't like to have to use the laid out template, you don't have to. But if you would like a template because it's helping you kind of get through this initial organizational piece, in Edmodo, there are 2 different ones that are there. One is in a Word doc, and that's the newer template, the newest template. Newest template. You're more than welcome to use that one. There's also a link to the same template in a Google Doc, and it's just not pretty. It's got the same kind of content, but it doesn't have the colors or the triangles or anything in it. But if it's important for you to be able to share and work on this with somebody else maybe in your building, you can use that as well. So those 2 templates are linked at Edmodo. Good place to start. Or if you like the chart paper, you can do that however you want to do it. It's up to you. We don't want to box you into a specific template, but we did want to provide them if you'd like them. They are right underneath the, let's see. Scroll down just a little bit front. I think there are 2 underneath the polls, 2 posts underneath the polls. There they are. And we'll be walking around helping out. We'll start with 25 or 20 minutes and see how it goes. Okay.